I can't get into it historically. I have to write a book about it. But, George left and Mick stayed with me. And Mick and I had an apartment and he was staying in Dokken. And I just kept fighting and fighting and fighting to get a record deal. Our last showcase we did at the Whiskey, Warren DeMartini was playing guitar.
Right. Yeah, that's
At the
cool.
Whiskey, Warren did a very short run. We had 5 record companies. I remember staying at the Whiskey on stage, looking on the audience, and I see George. What the hell he's doing here? I thought he was an Aussie because everybody said he's going to be an Aussie, right? And they flew him to England. He was going to be the guitar player. So we're playing. I'm very happy. Warren was like 18 or 19. We got along great. And I'm seeing George in the audience. I'm like, what the hell is he doing here? And he kind of pulled Warren aside and goes, you don't want to be in Dokken. Don's an asshole, man. Everybody knows it. Don's he can't trust Don. Don's a Nazi, he's going to control everything and take everything. And I'm like, whatever. So Warren went to Ratt because their ELP, I can't remember the name of it, Out of the Cellar or whatever it was called, took off. And then Juan Crucier said to me, and you can ask him if you ever interview him, I can't play with George. I just can't. I can't. He's too quirky. So Juan left, Warren left. I had to find Jeff as a bass player, get a new guitar player. We had just landed the Blue Oyster Cult tour with Aldo Nova, us opening up for 30 minutes. And that's when George came back in the band because he had nowhere else to go. And that really is the history of Dokken. Looking back, I have nothing against George. We get along fine. But if I could have kept Warren in the band, we probably just would have went way up a lot faster.
You think it would have been that much different with Warren instead of George?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, they're both really good guitar players, but just you're saying it was easier to work with Warren, maybe?
Oh, hell yeah. Because everything we did in the studio was a fight, George.
Isn't that how Ratt was too? See, or is Warren not the instigator in those fights?
Warren was easy breezy. We'd spend an hour on a solo with him, and it was amazing, and we're done. We go in to do Tooth and Nail. We have a 32-track recording console. I go in the studio at midnight because George didn't want me in the studio while I was recording. So they'd all take off at 10 o'clock, and they'd all go to the Rainbow to find chicks and cocaine. So I was sneaking in the studio with Michael Wagner, and there was like 14, 15 tracks of solos. I'm like, holy shit. And I would literally have to pick pieces of solos that were coherent, and we'd cut them, and because George is a free form guitar player, I'll say. He just picks up the guitar and plays. There's no structure. There's no beginning. There's no end. There's no middle. That's just the way George plays. So I go in the studio, take all the tapes. That's a good spot. That's a good spot. That's a good spot. That's a good spot. And we cut them all together. And then I go home at 5 a.m. and I tell Michael Wagner, whatever you do, don't tell George I was here helping you. Because he'd flip out.
Because he didn't want you to have that control.
And I don't say control, it's just input. I'm a guitar player. I'm a lead guitar player. I go, this one track has nothing to do with this song. That track has nothing to do with this song. So I'd have to put it all together that it worked on the song. Classic example, Into the Fire. The last 2 bars goes,